There's this one question that echoes through all of history, a question that gets asked of every ruler, every person in power. It's not really about politics, it's about character. And in this explainer, we're going to dig into the one answer, the only answer, that time always, always gives. So what does happen to leaders who trade their humanity for a little more power? And look, this isn't some abstract philosophical question for a classroom. We're talking about a real historical pattern here. A verdict that gets handed down again and again and again.
You know the type, right? The kind of leader who talks about human rights, but only for some humans. The ones who condemn violence over here while bankrolling it over there. They paint themselves as these great saviors, all while the ground is literally soaked with innocent blood. Well, Islam has a really powerful, really specific word for this.
Okay, and this is the absolute key. The word is nifāq, hypocrisy. But it's not about making a mistake or not knowing any better. No. It's a conscious choice. It's knowing the truth, looking it right in the eye, and then deciding to walk away from it. All for what? For power, for status. It's a deliberate betrayal. And what's incredible is that long before any historian or political scientist ever started writing about this stuff, the Qur'an laid out a definition of this character. And the precision is just, wow. It's stunning. The lowest depths of the fire. Think about that for a second. Not just in the fire, but in the absolute lowest, deepest part. So you have to ask yourself, why? Why is the verdict for this so incredibly severe?
Well, it's because hypocrisy isn't just some personal failing. It's like a poison that gets into the water supply of a whole society. It just corrodes everything. It eats away at trust. It bends justice all out of shape, and it makes any kind of real, decent leadership pretty much impossible. And trust me, history backs this up 100%.
All right, so let's jump into the history books and look at a few classic examples, these timeless archetypes. And I want you to see them not just as stories from the past, but as, well, blueprints. Blueprints for a downfall that is shockingly predictable. Okay, first up, Pharaoh. And when we talk about Pharaoh, we're not just talking about some guy from an old story. We're talking about the OG tyrant, the blueprint. Seriously, almost every oppressive ruler since is just kind of copying his playbook. So take a look at his methods. Fear, mass surveillance, public punishments, and, this is the big one, controlling the narrative. Doesn't that sound super modern? It's wild. On the outside, he looked totally unbeatable. But on the inside, he was terrified. Absolutely consumed by the fear that he was going to lose it all. And so when the end finally came, here's the twist. God preserved his body, but not as an honor. Not at all. It was for the exact opposite reason. His body was preserved to be a sign, a permanent physical warning to anyone else who thought about going down that same path. And that's the lesson, right? History remembers everybody for sure, but not everyone gets remembered for being great. Some people are remembered for one reason and one reason only: to be a warning, to be the example of what not to do.
Okay, so let's scale it down now. We went from a massive king to a tribal leader. Let's talk about Abu Jahl. Here's a guy, a leader in his own right, who came to a crossroads. He could choose the truth, or he could choose his status.
See, the thing about Abu Jahl is he knew. He knew the Prophet Muhammad's message was the truth. He even admitted it in private. But publicly, he fought it tooth and nail. So why? Simple. His ego, his authority, his position at the top of the food chain, all of that was way more important to him than accepting a truth that meant he wouldn't be the big man anymore.
And what happened in the end? All those fancy titles, his family name, history just wiped them away. He died defeated, totally humiliated. And he got a new name, one that stuck forever: Abu Jahl, the father of ignorance. I mean, what a perfect example of the fact that history doesn't give a rip about your job title. It only cares about who you were as a person.
All right, our next example, this one is maybe the most disturbing. We're talking about Hajjaj bin Yusuf. This guy was a Muslim governor. He knew the Qur'an inside and out. He was fluent in Arabic. He checked all the boxes. And yet, his rule was just pure terror. His whole strategy was to crush anyone who disagreed with him with absolute brutal force. And don't get me wrong, he was powerful. People obeyed him, you bet they did. But when he died, nothing. No real tears. No one was actually sad. Just this quiet, collective sigh of relief, even from the people who were on his side. It's such a powerful lesson, isn't it?
Fear gets you obedience, sure, but it will never, ever get you loyalty. You can't command someone's heart.
Okay, so let's fast forward. Let's bring this whole pattern right into the modern day. The clothes are different, the weapons are way more advanced, but the basic nature of this kind of hypocritical, unchecked power, it hasn't changed one bit. I mean, just think about it for a second. These guys, they ruled with so much noise, right? Giant rallies, military parades, this whole show of absolute strength. And they're always saying, we're doing this for you, the people. But then, look at how their story ends. Alone, humiliated, taken down by the very people they ruled over. All that power, and in the end, it couldn't save them from a lonely, pathetic collapse. So when you zoom out, when you look at the big picture, across centuries, across different cultures, different systems of government, you start to see this incredibly consistent pattern. It's almost spooky. They all share the same ending to their story.
Let's just break it down step by step. 1, they always end up alone, surrounded by guards maybe, but trusting absolutely no one. 2, they live in fear. They become terrified that the same tactics they used on people will be used on them. 3, when they're gone, nobody really mourns. The public just breathes a sigh of relief. 4, their legacy is sealed. They're not remembered as heroes, they're remembered as villains. And 5, moral bankruptcy. Every justification, every excuse they made for their cruelty, it all just falls apart.
Now, I want to speak directly to anyone out there who might be living under some kind of injustice. This message is for you. This verse, it's a reminder that justice might feel slow, it might feel delayed, but it is never absent. And being patient here doesn't mean giving up, not at all. It means you hold on to who you are, to your principles. You don't let their evil tarnish you. Because you can be sure of one thing, no tyrant in all of human history has ever gotten away with it in the end. And finally, a direct warning. This is for anyone with any kind of power. I don't care if you're a president or a CEO, a general, or just a manager of a small team. That authority you have, it's not yours. You're just borrowing it. It's a trust. And how you handle that trust, believe me, it's all being recorded. You can control the media. You can spin the narrative any way you want. You can even try to build your own little reality. But you know what you can't control? Time. And you absolutely cannot escape the final accounting that every single one of us has to face. Because at the end of the day, a moment is coming when every secret gets laid bare. When all the carefully crafted stories just crumble to dust. And the only thing left standing is the plain, simple truth. That is the divine verdict. And it is absolutely inescapable.
When we said, Qalu bala Shahidna, we bore witness to Allah, this channel is an effort to live that promise.